Golden hour. Okay, this piano tutorial will essentially spoon feed you this whole piece. I'll really take my time, slowly moving, note by note, bar by bar, to make sure that I give you all the puzzle pieces you need to be able to play this yourself, to be able to perform this yourself. So even if you're brand new to piano or somewhat of a novice, everything you need to pull it off is here in this video. To start though, let me play the first 10 seconds of the music for you so you can see what you're up against, and then I'll begin from the top. Here we go. Okay. Alrighty. The first thing I'd like you to notice is that the rhythm of this piece is really straightforward. There's nothing fancy here. It's all just 16ths in the right hand, 16ths in the left, which means that the hands are aligning at every moment. So once you learn the left and the right separately, putting them together should be quite straightforward. Practicing it is a little bit of a different story, and I'll mention that later, but the initial task, feat of putting your hands together, which is usually what people struggle with, that's not going to be too difficult. Okay, let's open up with the right hand to start this whole thing off. As I said, it's all 16ths. We're in 12/8 time. So we begin with these 4 notes. This is your opening position. Right, don't immediately just play it as you've heard it. Just learn it by position first. This is your first position. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's your first bar. Bar 2, the thumb drops to E. The top 3 notes remain the same. Opa, there it is. It's easy enough. There's the entirety of your second bar. Bar 3 now, the top 3 notes fall to F sharp, A, and B. Thumb stays where it was on E. And so bar 3 is this position. Notice the fingering, 1, 2, 3, 4. And bar 4, finally, everything falls either by tone or semitone. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are your 4 most important positions in the right. Bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4. Notice also that each one of these positions has the same fingering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Makes it quite easy to learn. Once you think you've got that handled and have memorized it pretty well, then just break it up as it is in the music. Starting from the bottom towards the top and back down. And then you make that trip 4 times per bar. A small sidebar now about the technique here. For those of you that are somewhat new to piano or don't have a lot of experience with it, this piece, the only thing that makes this piece kind of difficult is that it's non-stop. It's just 16ths, note after note after note. It doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to relax your hand, to take a break. And that can lead to some strain and stress in your arm and in your wrist and your tendons underneath. So to avoid that, because this is like one of the first problems that people run into, make sure that when you're learning this right now, when you're learning this, that when you're traveling this route up and down, follow with your wrist. So what you want to do is make a very gentle, small, so it's not a huge one, but a small oval with your wrist, a small ellipse. You're sort of following towards the right, and then you circle over towards the left. This is hugely important. It's very hard to overstate how important it is to make sure your hand and your wrist has an opportunity to relax and to stay flexible and supple. And this is the only way to do that. As if it's breathing. If you're completely static and stiff while you do this and only your fingers are working, you're gonna, first of all, you're not gonna be able to play fast enough. You're not gonna be able to reach the final tempo, and you're very likely to hurt yourself, right? To like strain your hand and overexert your tendons and eventually inflame them to the point of even tendonitis. So just a small little circle will mitigate that risk almost entirely. So 4 of these boys. Next position, thumb drops. Next position, R3. And the final one. Cool. The pedal should start down, right? You want a little bit of water in your paint. So press the pedal before you begin. And the way you should think about this is wherever you have one position, so all of this is one pedal. Then when you change to the next position, that is its own pedal. And then this is its own, and then this is its own, right? So the pedal is down. And then change pedal. Change. Change. And given the fact that the whole piece is structured on the basis of these 4 positions, chords, harmonies, the pedal will change accordingly, right? So as you'll see as you move forward, it's all kind of the same with some variation here and there. And wherever you have a change in position, which means a change in harmony, the pedal changes as well. That's a rule of thumb here. And just a rule of thumb in general in piano playing. Harmonies dictate, changes in harmony generally dictate pedal changes. All right, the left hand now. So here's our opening position, 4, 2, and 1. And the pattern is what we call Alberti bass, which means we start with a bottom note and then the top 2 notes seesaw back and forth. And then again. So you have 4 of those trips. Next bar, all the notes drop to 5, 3, and 1. G sharp, B, and D sharp. And it remains the same pattern. Once, twice, 3 times, and on the 4th, the pinky drops to G natural. So once more, that's. Third bar, the pinky drops a little further to F sharp. And then the notes are A and C sharp. Now I'll give you 2 alternatives here for fingering. I'll give you one which is the easiest to learn, and most people tend to do it when I've seen people play it on YouTube and whatever. There's one very simple fingering here, but it's harder to speed it up. And a fingering that I'm going to show you, which will be the second alternative, which is harder to learn, harder to kind of like wrap your head around it and to practice it and make it second nature because it's a bit more complex. but it makes the process of speeding it up and keeping everything fluid and smooth easier. So it's a situation of, kind of pick your poison, either something that's easier to learn now, but difficult to speed up, or something that's harder to learn now, but makes your life easier further down the line. So I'll give you the easier option first. 5, 3, 1. Right? That's the easier option. 5, 3, and 1, right out of the gate. So we're coming from the G natural, and then move everything down, and then 5, 3, 1 for every iteration. The other alternative, which is what I would do and what I will be doing in the future as I move further into this piece, it's sort of like, I'm a pianist, so I try to find the easiest solutions to things, and learning it is a little bit more difficult, but the solution is a bit more elegant here, I think. So this is what I would do. The figure that precedes bar 3 is the G natural. In this position, you can see my second finger is on C sharp. My fourth finger is already on A. And now if I drop down with my pinky to F sharp, well, then I have everything in place. I don't have to do any jumps. I don't have to rush into a new position. It's all ready to go. But playing this way is a little harder, I think, for lots of people than playing it immediately with 5, 3, and 1. That being said, once we're here, once we start with my fingering here, which is 5, 4, 2 for the first iteration, but we're not done yet. Second iteration, we replace the second finger with the thumb. The third iteration, we replace the fourth finger with a 3. And we finish with 5, 3, and 1. This is basically just a strategy to get my hand into a fingering of 5, 3, 1, but to get it there smoothly and without any jumps or, jagged movements or any panic, right? So moving from here to here is super easy. Moving to the thumb is super easy. Moving to the third is super easy, and bam, we're in position now where we need to be. And then we're ready for bar 4. Or, as I said, alternatively, you can just immediately jump to 5, 3 right out of the gate. But you'll have to jump a little bit so that you arrive in 5, 3, 1. So I'll leave that completely up to you. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just continue to use my fingering because I find it easier and smoother. Alrighty, so bar 4 now, everything falls down to 5, 3, and 1. Same pattern for the rest of the bar. And that's it. So these 4 bars, just the left hand. And the only detail that I would include here is the very last note of bar 4, which is the end of the phrase. Instead of staying on 3, on the last note, what you'll do is the following. The last note played with the pinky. Like that. The reason for that is if you play this with a pinky, you set yourself up for bar 5, which is just a repetition of bar 1. Makes things really smooth, no jumps necessary, and it aligns the sections beautifully if you do it that way. Cool. I think that's it. Now we put it together. I'm imagining now that you've practiced this enough that you know these little details inside and out. So putting them together is a cakewalk because everything aligns. Together, 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 together. Couldn't be simpler. So you can practice that on your own and improve the speed little by little. One detail that is worth noting here is the way that the right hand figure, the way that this naturally breaks down, the way that we sort of conceptualize it or hear it rather, is in threes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because that's the way in which it's symmetrical, right? Like it swings back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The left hand, on the other hand, it doesn't break into threes. Otherwise, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What's more natural for the left is 3 groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's what's more natural, the way that we more naturally hear the left hand here, right? So the right hand is 2 groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the left hand is 3 groups of 2, 1, 2, 3. And what ends up happening when you put them together is this is what kind of makes the song sound really pretty, is it creates this rhythmic, the juxtaposition of those two things creates like a space between the rhythms, which gives it like a 3-dimensionality. And it's really pretty, but what happens is as you start to speed it up, if you don't have a perfect handle on the technique of, let's say, the left hand, the hands will start to misalign and kind of start to fall apart. Right? That's almost inevitable as you start to speed this up. What I would recommend to do to avoid that is accent every third note, and do that with the left hand as well. Just as a little exercise, this will make sure that you maintain fluency and control over the way the hands interact and keep them very much aligned. So you can think of it like scaffolding. You can practice it with the scaffolding to make sure, or like with training wheels or whatever, so that you want to really feel the moment that the right and left hands align. If you do that very well, then you take the training wheels off, you remove the scaffolding, and you just play, and you'll find that it works a lot better. And the same thing is true for all of these, because it's all the same rhythm. As I said, the only thing that's really important here is the end. Is that fella. And once you have that pretty well learned, take the last iteration of bar 4, what I just showed you, and the beginning of bar 5, which is just a repetition of the beginning, and stitch them together. Make them into a unit. As I said, it's always the moves between sections that are the weakest. So if you do that, the end of one and the beginning of the other, make them into a unit, it'll improve the quality of your performance like a lot and without a whole lot of effort. That's it. I think that's cool. I think that's pretty clear. You just put those together, practice it slowly, making sure that the hands align, and then we move into the next section. All right, now we can move a little bit quicker because we've done most of the work. Most of the work is finished. So, bar 5. Okay, so bar 5 is pretty much identical to the beginning of the piece, except that you have to add an octave G sharp. So we do that on beat number 2. Beat number 1 is the same as you've just seen. So that's, nothing new. Beat 2, get in position for an octave G sharp. Together, left hand alone. Third finger on B in the right hand. And that aligns with the thumb of the left hand. So once you can do that, well, then the rest of it is just a continuation of the pattern that you're already familiar with. So putting that together. Moving forward, it's all the same. So the rest of bar 5 is old news. And then we move on. So again, old news. And on the second beat is where we have another one of these added. So just be very aware of, after playing the G sharp, where does the right hand align? With what note does the right hand align? And the answer is with the thumb of the left. Once you arrive correctly on that thumb, then the rest of it is just a fulfillment of the pattern as you already know it. That takes care of bar 6. Moving on. Pinky falls. I'm going to continue with my fingering here. And the right hand, that's the position, right? The first beat is familiar. It's the same. Second beat, F sharp octave, left, together on A, second finger, actually no, sorry, there should have been a thumb. If you're doing my finger, it should have been a thumb. So together, and then it continues. Switch in the left hand to a 3. On the last beat, it's just a repetition of the octave F sharp. So once more, that's thumb, switch to 3, F sharp, continuing. It's not too shabby. Moving on, next bar, think of the position on the left, that's here, and on the right, that's here. first beat is normal. Then we have D sharp octave with a 4. I would generally suggest whenever you have octaves on black notes, use a 4 or a 4/5. Don't use a 5 at the top because there's not as much real estate on your pinky finger and there's a potential for you to slip off. Use a 4 or 5 and 4. It's almost impossible to screw it up. So, yeah. On the G sharps, 4 and 1. On the F sharps, 4 and 1. And now in bar 8, four and 1. Left hand 1 note, then aligning with the thumb as usual, continuing. Once more. Next, another octave, pinky and thumb here, E. Left hand, same continuation. Next beat, F sharp, 4 and 1, left hand, same continuation. So watch all of that stuck together. Not bad, right? Okay. All right. Switch this out. So if we play this whole section, actually I'll play everything that I've just shown you from the beginning with both the hands, but slowly. I've given you everything you need, and you just have to put it together and little by little speed it up. Don't push. Just let the weight of your hand, the weight of your arm, do all the work for you. And you'll get a sort of shimmer. Switch to the 5. Then moving to the next section. And I'll show you that in the next part of the tutorial. So find part 2. And I'll show you what's coming up next. We did most of the work. The rest, I think, is pretty good. Not that crazy, not that hard. See you in just a moment.